What I'm going to give you today is some information of how the university has prepared, continually prepared, and how do we respond to any type of emergencies. The first thing, you can find a lot of information over on the left-hand side of that's very relevant to the university. If you go to Kevin, evacuation plans, each building has an evacuation plan. That's the first level of emergency response that we have. I ask the building facilitators every year to, if they've cleaned off their bulletin boards, to repost this. The library has put them up to where they're pretty much permanent. And what it does, it gives you quick information on what to do during a fire or a fire drill or if a fire alarm goes off. What to do if a person discovers a fire. Evacuating a building, make sure you stay 75 feet away so the first responders will have availability to the room. If someone needs assistance, it gives you information on what to do there. Basically, if a person cannot come down the steps because the elevators come to the bottom and drop and the doors open, they do not work during a fire alarm. And if a person cannot make it down the steps, you put them at the top of a stairwell and you go down and you tell the first responder you see. So it also has information for that building on what to do during a tornado or severe weather. The second thing I want to talk about is another communication that we have is the MSU Emergency Procedure Handbook. Every employee should have one of these. If not, we've got extras for today. Every new employee gets one of these in their new employee packet, plus I hand them out during the MSU 199. It gives you a quick procedures on how to react to an earthquake, hazardous material if there's a chemical spill, severe weather, if you get suspicious mail or package in the mail, bomb threats. There's quite a few items. Most common threats, briefly, you can just read and figure out what's going on. This is also in a poster form. That's in lecture halls. The next item I'm going to cover is the Morehead State University Emergency Operations Plan. A lot of people are not aware of this, mainly because it's how the university reacts to any type of disaster. And it's got how we react to a shooter incident. And that's information that this university has said we don't want the public to know how we react. But the people that do know is the people that are in the command, the chain of command, the building facilitators, people that need to know have one of these. Basically it is the EOP mobilizes rapidly and efficiently university resources, personnel, and equipment to emergencies. We plan and update this yearly. We practice this in a round table. FEMA has put together for this summer our annual round table, and they'll come in with some scenarios. Most of us do not know what the scenarios, what the situation is going to be until we get there. So what we'll do is we'll bring in state agents, federal agents, state agents, local agents. There's around 20, 25 first responders that will come in, and we'll sit around a table and we will go through several scenarios and how go around the table and how that each individual entity on campus will respond. And we do this at emergency operations centers. We have a primary center in Laughlin building. We have a backup center in case that building is a building that goes down unavailable. We'll move it somewhere else. Another level of response that we have is the FEMA Business Continuity and Disaster Preparedness Plan. So this is for each entity on campus. It's basically designed to let us know who's in charge, how do you recover in 3 days from a disaster. So if Baird Music Hall burns, in 3 days we will have them up and running. But to do that, we have to have a call down chart. We have to know who's in charge. We need to know what vendors they use. Obviously, they're going to use vendors where we need quickly to get in instruments, sheet music, office supplies. They're going to be listed here. The other thing that this does, it can be utilized if we have a failure of a building from a disaster, a fire, a tornado, failure of personnel. So if we have a pandemic, we can utilize this plan, or if telecommunications. So if we have a cyber attack and we're unable to use technology, this plan will come into place. I'm urging everyone, every employee, every student to sign up for Eagle Alerts. It'll let you know, well, first of all, you have your choice. So the people yesterday at West Liberty, they were able to go on, click on just West Liberty. Some of the professors there teach down there and here, so they'll have one class here, or a lot of professors here will go down to teach a class. They're able to click on multiple ones. So they'll get a message if there's a weather alert or some type of disaster, and they can get those communications by a number of means. I think, Kevin, there's an icon to the left over. Go back to the emergencies. Go back one more. Methods of alerts. So you can get a text message, which the students relate to, Twitter, campus-wide voicemail, a mass campus voicemail. It's on the radio, it comes on the campus, it overrides the TVs. In housing, they will actually write notes, post on doors, entrances, and so forth. So this information you can get out extremely quick. Well, we're on the notification systems. We also have the outdoor emergency alert system. I think this is what was a little confusing to some people at convocation. We have a PA system for the people that are outside. So students walking to class, professors walking in between classes, athletes playing outside on ball fields. We have an outdoor PA system. So we have a set of speakers on Ginger, Cartmel, and Jane Stadium. And that's tested the first Monday, working Monday of every month at 12:30 p.m. So we'll run a test. It's pre-recorded, And again, it's designed for the people outside to hear it. Someone asked during convocation, someone commented that they couldn't hear it in their office. It's not designed to hear in the office. What's designed to be notified in your office is to sign up for E2 Campus. Then you'll get those messages. The other two things you could sign up for is Round County has a code red. I believe Morgan County is code red. Some of the other counties have a different type of system, but if you live in any county, you have an opportunity to sign up for a notification, and what that does is it'll call your phone. That typically it's a weather alert. Sometimes an amber alert will come through those systems. The other thing you can do is get a personal weather radio. The ones that make sense to me is the handheld ones, to where you can unplug them. It's got a battery backup. If you need to go to shelter, you can take your weather radio with you. Here's got some resources for your classroom. Every professor is supposed to give a life safety orientation to their class. The first class of the session of the year, the students are supposed to sign, and those come into my office. It's got a locked door protocol the campus continues to work on. And if we can go back, I'll click on let's go look at the evacuation plans right there. So every building on campus has their evacuation plan that I mentioned earlier. Kevin, the next one down, facility supervisors. Every building has a supervisor, building supervisor. So if they've got an overflowed toilet, leaky faucet, if they've got a light blinking, if part of the power goes out in the building supervisor typically is the one that calls facilities and says, hey, I got something going on over here. And these are the supervisors of each building. If you want to go back, E91 addresses. I know the university gets a lot of things that comes in that says 150 University Boulevard. There is no 150 University Boulevard. You do have a physical address for each building on campus. If we have inclement weather, Chief Sparks will go out, 3, 4 in the morning, drive the roads, get the state police report, look at the number of accidents reported during the night, and call the provost, and it's the provost's call. So they'll go to plan A, plan B, or we just may go ahead and have school. So the other thing I want to talk about, the last thing I want to talk about is my department, the Environmental Health and Safety, is in the process of getting Morehead State University ready to become a weather-ready university. So we're working with NOAA out of Jackson, Kentucky, and they're going to be here later this week. We've signed a contract. We've got our notification system in place. We've got our education system in place. We've got to put signage up in each building, basically where to shelter during inclement weather. So we'll be doing that this spring, and hopefully by summer we'll be a weather-ready university. So,
since Columbine in 1999, there have been 13 school shootings. Up to in 2013, we've already had 5 in the nation. When folks go back and look at the common thread between all the school shooters, what do you think that common thread is? Anybody? There's always been a history or a report of violence or a concern for that student. The problem is, it was in silos, just like we are at a lot of campuses. Someone has recognized the problem and discussed it but it's never been, all the concerns have never been put together, and this problem has escalated. Counseling and Health Services is one of the resources on campus that you can refer students to for problems. And you guys see the students every day. You see them in your classroom, you see them in the office, you see them in the hallway, on the grounds. A lot of times you're the very first person that can notice a difference in their behavior and their actions. So we're going to go over some of the tips that we have, a document on our website to help you recognize some of those behaviors. We're going to go over those tips not because everybody that is troubled or disturbed becomes a school shooter. We know that. But because with our mission and philosophy here on campus, we want to intervene early. We want to help those students. We want to make sure that they stay in school and are successful, and that we have a very comfortable, safe environment for all faculty, staff, and students. As we review some of these, you can go on. They can actually fall into 5 different categories: emotional, physical, social, academic, and behavioral. And I like to break them up that way from the list at top, Kevin. And emotionally, you may see an increase in nervousness and agitation, irritability of that student, just different than what they've had in the past. And you'll see you may see an increased in dependency, or that student might have always been kind of dependent. I know that we've all in the semester have at least one student that's kind of needy. They come up after class while you're trying to get your materials together. They talk to you while you're going to your office. They stop you in the hall and they talk to you. Signs of depression that you might see would be frequent crying. The student might come into the classroom and you can tell they've been crying. Insomnia, oversleeping, sudden weight loss or gain, and loss of pleasure. Student might just tell you, I don't enjoy anything anymore. You know, I used to enjoy different things. Sometimes they will blame it on overwork of their class, overwork of their family demands, or if they're working a work schedule, but they're just going to tell you they've lost their pleasure in life. That's a sign of depression. If a student starts talking about death and suicide, that's another red flag, especially if they start talking about death and suicide of a family member or a friend. We see a lot of students that get in crisis about the anniversary date of that death of the friend or the family member's suicide or deaths, of course. But you want to make sure that if that student's in crisis, that you, or talking about that you refer them to us or someone for help. Physically, you're going to see a change in their personal hygiene. They may have low energy. They may go to sleep in class. And when I see this little section, I kind of smile, because how many of our students sleep in class and have a change, or sometimes we're concerned about their personal hygiene. But this is just a marked change, something that's really different. In the 5th deadliest shooting in school history, Northern Illinois University, where 6 was killed and 21 wounded, that shooter was said to be an outstanding student, but he had been off of his medication. So those are the things that we need as a team to be watching for. Academically, you see sudden changes in academic performance. You may see a decrease in their test-taking skills. The students